I'm gonna go live tweet it out and then we get started.
Okay,
Oh yeah, I'll retweet it.
So I want to be careful because I know that you guys obviously went through some trauma losing someone close to you. I don't want to discuss anything that you guys are uncomfortable with. Are you guys comfortable like kind of talking about that or?
If we could avoid the actual like Kyle shooting, I'll talk about literally anything else. But if we can, and I'll ease into it as it goes on, like because I might feel better. But I also like have had a pretty bad day.
That's exactly why I
with that.
ask.
So like I'm pretty comfortable talking about things. If it does start to feel weird, I'll just voice it. I'm not too, no one's gonna be like, oh, what a pussy. Like no one's gonna.
Yeah, because I know that's a tough subject.
I'm gonna say that.
Could you imagine?
Are we live? Let me tweet this out, and then once I tweet it, we to get started. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh no, Caitlyn Bennett is trending.
Yeah, it's because she got ran out again.
She ended up hiding in the electrical room in the bagel shop.
Oh god, I'm very much pro bullying when it comes to her.
Oh yeah.
She's the one that's walking around while having that shit of an opinion. That's on her.
That's what I mean. Like, and it was funny because someone tried to like get a got him on me because they were like, "I thought you always preach like talking to the other side." I was like, "You talk to people, not Caitlyn Bennett's not people.
Walking
it's
around
different."
while having that.
Almost there.
This person sent me screenshots arguing with her mom about Antifa, and her mother used screenshots of my profile in arguing with her to say that the
no, they're right. They're right.
They're out and proud. They're not even hiding it.
You made it in this world.
That's funny as fuck. Poor old boomers.
Oh yeah, my mom still hates it that I call myself a communist. I'm like, what?
Really?
Hey, you guys are really close at getting me there, huh? I know you were trying to tempt me there.
Yes. Oh my god, I would love to see like what you think after you read. I would love to see that.
I opened all the links that someone sent me. Like someone saw our conversation. Someone sent me a shit ton of links. I opened up a few and started. I'm like, man, here it goes. I'm gonna be radicalized in real time. Like, cause like compared to January, from now, I'm like a moderate in January compared to now. And now it's like, what I'm gonna look like next year? Because at this point, I'm getting close.
Next year, you'll have a flag that looks like this.
Yeah. It was so funny because when I joined SDS, a lot of people in there, including myself, were like social democrats when we entered. And every time that we had a meeting, we would introduce like what we are. Are we a social democrat? Are we a socialist? What are you? And it was so funny to see myself and all the other people slowly slide to the left, like every single meeting. Like, I'm a socialist.
That's how it works for me too. That's why I got a lot of respect from Gen Z, because Gen Z came out the gate swinging, like radicalized. Because a lot of people my age, we all got stories about us being dumb libs, dumb conservatives, or whatever. So it's like Gen Z. I see you guys are like, I see people that like 14, 15, 16 as like burn it all down. Like, man, damn, you guys are ahead of the curve. Because you guys,
we had hope. They didn't.
You guys literally never had that period of Stockholm syndrome towards the
They didn't have the hope part.
Yeah. And
I'm like right in between millennial and Gen Z, and I feel it on an emotional level. Like I feel like I'm there. And my brother is 6 years younger than me, and I'll tweet a picture of him later because it's actually really funny. He's like, he has a mullet and he's like 6'3", 245, just like looks like he only eats cornbread. And he's a communist. And he's like, if you were to talk to him, I mean, he literally is like, you can pry my gun from my cold dead fingers. And then right after that, he'll start talking about, we got to seize the means of production. And it's like, oh my God.
He's just hearing that in that accent gives me life so much.
It's so funny. I lost mine on purpose. Mine's gone on purpose.
If you could have him like rant and like record it, that would be a great podcast. Just like,
oh god, it's so funny.
I mean,
Southern
read the Communist Manifesto, but just in a hick-ass accent. Oh my
God.
Do it.
Hold on, I gotta kick my dog out.
I will subscribe for that content alone.
Yeah, I'll pay for that.
So, I mean, I'm almost 30. I'm 29. If you asked me 10 years ago that I would be friends with a bunch of commies and anarchists, I would be like, what the fuck happened to my life? But it feels right. It feels natural. I remember, like, even in 2016 when Bernie came out, I remember I used to tell people, like, yeah, I'm not a socialist, but I was like for policies. I still resisted it, even in 2016. Now I'm like full blown socialist MMA. I'm literally repping that as my name. That's how much I fuck with socialism. So you never know.
I feel that on an emotional level.
I think Sabby may have blue screen like she said she might. Her camera hasn't moved in a while.
Yeah, maybe she already gave us. She already gave us a heads up. Actually, before you said it, I thought she was just smiling for a long time. I'm like, okay, she can.
And I was like, damn, girl, I know I'm funny, but.
But speaking of that, I know you said you was used to be a conservative, Erica. So since we're on the topic, before we get into the protests and all that stuff, can you what did your political journey kind of look like in terms of who you used to support, what kind of ideas they used to have? Because unfortunately, I think one issue that a lot of people on the left have, and this one I saw you raise concern about, was people look at people in their past and they automatically assume that they can't change for the better. So, what kind of led you to change, and what kind of old beliefs they used to have?
I mean, so I grew up in Indiana, and both of my parents came from like the countryside of Indiana, from very like country poor households. And then when they met, they moved to Indianapolis because that's where my dad was working. So I always had like a weird mixture of like influence from growing up on the east side of Indianapolis, and then also like with my parents and the rest of my family like being super country poor. So there's two different types of like white trash poor, and one's in the city and one's in the country. It's just what it is. But I mean, a lot of it was just ignorance. And that's why I tell people all the time that like don't discount anyone that used to be a conservative, because a lot of times it's legitimately just because of like they just don't know. Like, I mean, I was a kid, so I give myself a break. But like if you go through my Facebook memories or something like that, it's like I literally I shared a meme in 2012, like during that election, that was like, oh, Obama's gonna take an early lead and then everyone's gonna get off of work and go vote for Mitt Romney. And like I like look back on it and I'm like, Erica, what the fuck is that? But it was just because that's the shit I was hearing regurgitated in my household. I mean, my parents watched Fox News. My dad was always like a libertarian, and so he's probably a good reason why I took like the first steps like away from like conservatism, I guess, because he was like a true libertarian. He wasn't like the fucking Boogaloo boys that just want to like lick boots. I mean, he very much is for like legitimate small government. Like even now, like he supports Black Lives Matter. He supports the protests. He is 100% on that side. So my mom, on the other hand, was a staunch Republican. I'm like racist, homophobic, which is actually a huge reason why I think I did, because I am bisexual. So when I came out of the closet to her and she tries to fucking send me to Mike Pence day camp, it's like, okay, maybe this bitch is wrong. And so I think a lot of it, honestly, at least for me in the beginning, growing up in a conservative Midwest household, was just like having my own personal, like, no, like I date women. And then it was like, but then it kind of like everything kind of unraveled from there. So that was a big part of it. I also got my ass beat in high school for like just being stupid and ignorant. So that's why I'm pro brick.
Pro brick.
But for the most part, I was conservative. I'd always say I was fiscally conservative, socially liberal. And then I didn't know what that means. I didn't know what that meant. I just said it because Fox
anyone
News
really
said
know
it.
What it means?
No one
Everyone
does.
used to say that all the time. And
yeah. Oh yeah, I said it about myself too.
Like that's that was just one of those talking points that like people hear and they're like, yes, this is me.
I feel like people say
And
that because
so-
they feel like they want to sound like an adult, pretty much. They're like, yeah, when it comes to financial issues, I'm buttoned down. So they
And
feel
what's
like it
funny
makes
is
it
like,
serious.
I literally am just like, oh, I'm unfiscally conservative as our ass is on food stamps. Like, bitch, shut up. Like, shut up. So
You
it was,
know, wow.
it was just denial. A lot of it. It was like, oh, we're poor, but it's not our fault. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, we're trying. It's everyone else that's not trying. So,
Yeah.
that was really the first step. And then joining the Navy to escape poverty was radicalizing in itself.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like just meeting people, talking with people. And then I was flipped to a lib because of Bernie. I really liked Bernie in 2016. I was deployed for almost the entire primary. So I wasn't really around firsthand for a lot of the fuckery that was happening with like the Hillary campaign and everything. And when you're in Yemen, we didn't have internet. So it's like, I didn't know what was going on. And so after I came home, I was like, oh, you go vote blue no matter who. And like, that was bad. And that was my first general election I could vote in. I definitely was like a big vote shamer. I couldn't believe people were feeling, discouraged by the system and why they wouldn't vote for Hillary. But then pretty much after
now, it seems so crazy knowing what I know about
it is
now.
weird.
So the evolution is real, man. People need to understand that.
And yeah, absolutely. And like
I was knocking doors for Bernie last year.
Yeah, no, like that's what I mean. Is like
Iowa.
It's crazy to look back on and then to just think about like, damn, like, okay, what happened? And so I was on my lib shit until I mean, God, I believed Russiagate. I like bought one of those dumb books that was like about Russiagate.
Bought the book.
I should have brought it up.
I'm sorry, Erica. We're gonna laugh at you a little bit, just a little bit.
No, please. I encourage it. I encourage
Did you
it.
say you had a phone case that said something about Miller on it?
I did. I had a phone case that said, "In Mueller we trust."
That's what it was.
No.
See, my thing is like everyone know that I'm like super anti-Russiagate now, but I didn't start tweeting until like late 2018, and I actually went to Russiagate with an open mind. Like I was never like a hardcore Russiagator, and that's why I went really after Russiagate, because when it happened, I remember there was a lot of people on the left that immediately went after it, and they was right in hindsight, right? But I remember I was just thinking like, yo, you guys are kind of jumping the gun. Let's see what this is all about. And then as it went on, I quickly realized I was like, okay, this is bullshit. Like this is straight up bullshit. So
well, I can't believe I fell for it, because when I was in the Navy, I worked in intelligence.
Yeah,
it's like that's literally your job.
Yeah, and specifically Russia. Like I was a sonar technician for my main job, and anti-submarine warfare is based around two major countries. That's China and Russia. And I was on the East Coast, so it was Russia. And so it's just really funny that, like, looking back on it, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely true. The government doesn't lie to people.
So wait, you worked with or on Russian intelligence, and now you're a socialist and saying
I'm turning my camera off. Well, it was
saying they were right.
It's just funny, like looking back on it now, because of how quickly it all happened. And a big reason why I turned into a leftist was I realized a lot of the contradictions. I think a lot of the radicalization I've seen just from like my friends or people I've met on Twitter happened after the primaries. Yes. Like right near Super Tuesday. A lot of people that like, I was outdoor knocking for Bernie constantly in Virginia, and I was doing everything that I could. And so when I saw that, and I saw like the coalescing behind Biden, and then you just kind of like realize everything. And that's the same time I joined Twitter. I was like,
Twitter
oh
helps.
Shit.
Twitter
oh no.
Process.
Yeah. And I had a good friend of mine who I legitimately cannot repay, that took time out of his day for a long few weeks and every day talked to me all day about everything, about Venezuela, about Cuba, about the USSR, about the CIA, about everything. And like, he didn't have to do that. And like the fact that he did that, like, I don't know. I just feel like I owe him the world because like without him during that time period, because we were friends already, but like we both have babies, so that's how we became friends. And so then it turned into him really taking the time to help me get there. And so yeah, like that's why I always tell people to talk to people, because it can just take one person and then you can flip them.
I think that's how radicalization happens for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people just end up randomly picking up a book one day and, you know, I was radicalized through my comrades.
Yeah, good friends don't let their friends be stupid libs. That's why
live shit.
Good friends don't let us, because I don't talk to politics a lot with my friends. But there's one thing that like my super close friends, like the people that can't help it but be around me when I follow my politics. I tell the story before, but one thing that made me super proud is I remember when I was in South Carolina, my brother was talking to somebody. I don't remember exactly who it was. It may have been a voter, maybe someone else in the Bernie campaign. I don't necessarily remember, but I remember him. My dad still got a little bit of Obama hope, but him, my friends, I mean, anyone in the black community while I'm around, like a lot of people don't understand. If you're not in the black community, it's really, really hard to describe the level of commitment that our community had towards Barack Obama, because he was our shining hope, and there was a lot of people that still hold on to the fact that Obama was a good guy. And I don't get really that mad at, especially like a lot of the black people that come from the black community, because my dad, he grew up in Alabama, and he has stories for your ass about getting in a fight with white gangs, and he been discriminated against, and he know friends who've been lynched. Like he been through the ringer of white supremacy. So it's you can't really explain properly how much Obama meant to a lot of black people. So despite all the things that Obama did, they still harbor on. They still hold on. Like you guys saw my tweets in Obama in 2012. I still I remember before the Mitt Romney election, that's when I started not to like Obama as much. But I still really wanted him to win that election, because I was like, my mindset was, even though I didn't like Obama, I was like, man, the first black president can't be a one term. Like that can't happen. That would be so devastating for our community. So I remember, back to the story, when my brother was talking to someone, it was me unprompted. He was like, Obama actually wasn't, he was actually kind of a piece of shit. And I remember when he said that, I was like, yes, that's me. Like that, I got, like, it wasn't me. I didn't force him to say that. He just he started coming to conclusions on his own, and that kind of the approach I take with my friend. I tell people I believe, I make my argument. But that's the one I always work on, and even with my dad to this day, like my dad is a little bit more he's a little bit more aware of Obama not being perfect, but he still won't drop like the fact that he's not a good guy. Like he will say stuff like, yeah, I mean, it went for the Republicans blocking him and shit like that. And I was had to explain to him.
That's a hard one. It's a hard one to really get past that, because
it's heartbreaking. It really is.
Even though like my parents were like Republicans, they both voted for Obama in 2008.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he ran that progressive message. And also like Bush was just such a disaster that, the stars had aligned. But the biggest thing was healthcare. That was why my parents voted for Obama in 2008, but that's why they didn't vote for him again in 2012, because they were very upset after he had the supermajority for 2 years.
Nothing.
And just we got like some bastardized ACA that was legitimately just written up by insurance companies. So it was and that's what's hard too now about flipping voters, because you have so many people so disenfranchised by the system that it's like, oh, and that what was hard about getting people to come out for Bernie even to vote, because it was like, look, we have this guy, hope and change, and people still have those memories of having that hope for change in 2008 and then 2012. So we're literally going against this system that purposely oppresses these people so they don't come out for change.
I feel guilty sometimes still for like giving disenfranchised people hope for Bernie.
Yeah.
Oh,
and sitting down and talking with people who said, I'm not going to put my heart and soul into this because I don't think it's going to work. And I'd be like, no, trust me. Like, we have to try. We have to make an effort. And getting them hyped up and excited. Like, I remember when my mom told me she voted for Bernie because she hasn't voted in years. And her words to me were just like, they're not representing me. None of them are. And nothing they're going to do isn't going to improve my life. So why would I vote for them? I don't know when the last time she voted was. But I like begged her and I was like, please vote for Bernie. Like it would mean a lot to me and like would always tell her about it, get her hyped up. And she was finally like, you know what? I think he really has a good message and a good shot. And, you know, Biden was leading in the polls and she kind of made the connection herself. I remember like I asked her a question in the bathroom one day and she's like, is Joe Biden really leading? I said, I guess that's what's going on right now. And she said, Bernie must have really intended on following through with what he promised if they're trying to stop him this hard. And she just kind of came to that conclusion on her own. And she still voted and I hugged her and I was so happy. And I think all the time about her and the people that I promised that there would be something and gave them hope to just be crushed again by the system and the rigging and everything that happened.
Yeah, I feel like people have no idea the immense negative impact that Barack Obama had by being such a disappointment that he was. Because I know a lot of people that are apolitical, and one thing ever since I got more into politics and I started traveling with the Bernie campaign, I literally had people that reach out to me in my personal life. They're like, "Yo, I didn't know that politics can be this way, where you can strongly advocate for your community. They didn't understand speaking truth to power." And then I had a lot of people that got more into politics after seeing what I was doing that was disenfranchised because of Barack Obama. And now I'm seeing the same thing happen. That's why I love that you brought that point up, because I have friends that are hardcore Bernie people. They went from literally apolitical, not giving a fuck, like not giving a single fuck. Like they used to, because I always been a political nerd, especially maybe in the last 5 years or so. I remember I used to watch my politics stuff, and they would be like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And they'd be watching basketball and stuff. I've just always been that way. They went from that to they would literally sit down and watch it with me. Like they would watch Jimmy Dore, they would watch the Secular Talk, they would watch all these shows with me, and they used to laugh at me before watching that kind of stuff. And now they back at that again because they saw. I remember one of my friends who was like one of the most apolitical people you know. Like he probably couldn't even tell you how many senators there are. He just loved Bernie. I showed him Bernie feed. He fell in love with Bernie, but he know nothing about politics. I remember when Joe Biden won, he's like, "Fuck this shit. I'll never get in politics again."
I really do think that the turnout is going to be insanely low for November. Like, and I won't necessarily call people out on it all the time on Twitter, but like, I think a lot of like progressives that are like, whatever, okay, I'll hold my nose and vote for Joe Biden. I just don't think they're going to vote, and that's okay. I'm not shaming it, but I just think that like people just aren't gonna go out because, especially as like things are getting just worse and worse. Like you see those fires in California, and it's like. Biden doesn't even want to ban fracking. Who cares? Like, that's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really easy to get into that mindset because it's like, and I said something about it yesterday. I was like, we're literally like in the middle of a global pandemic. The entire country's on fire. And we just had back-to-back hurricanes in the Gulf. And like, people just tell you to vote when literally that's not going to solve any of it. So it's like, what's the point of harm reduction if the entire fucking world is on fire? Like, there's no middle ground on climate change.
Yeah, if we're all dead because everything is burned and ruined by climate disasters, what did it do?
I've tried to flip it on like the like white liberal class right now. That's the ones that always come out of the fucking woodworks to shame everyone. And it's like, you literally have the power to force Biden to back Medicare for all, back fracking, or banning fracking, picking up the Green New Deal. Legitimately, if the fucking white women that are out here just like, you vote blue no matter who, whatever, would just shut up about that and just be like, hey, no, like, we need people to live, willing to put their foot down, willing to fight for people. They literally have the power to do that. But they won't. Instead, they shame us for begging for health care. You know what I mean? So that's I
honestly think if Biden bros was more aggressive against Biden, they will have an easier time because their argument is that we're gonna move Biden to the left, and one of the reasons why I don't buy that argument is because like you guys not challenge him right now. You guys don't challenge Obama.
He's moving to the right right now.
They literally didn't do anything under Trump, but they think that they're gonna like, we're gonna like. I love when people are like, we're gonna hold his feet to the fire. It's like, I legitimately want to know what that means because I would love to know how to move a politician to the left. So please, by all means, tell me. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating.
Like people can get mad at me because what I say like in terms of like the turnout for this election and people not liking Joe Biden and them nominating Joe Biden, that gonna hurt the Democratic Party. They can get mad at me all they want, but I'm telling people what I see on the ground. Like I told you guys that story with my friend who just said fuck politics and fuck this election. So you can't get mad at me for just telling you, like, even it's not gonna happen. But even if I vote for Joe Biden, that dynamic doesn't change. like that dynamic is not gonna change. The fact that people are being disenfranchised by the system, the fact that I think it's like 52% of black people don't vote, that's over a majority of black voters don't vote because they don't, and for that same exact reason I just laid out there before. They don't see any reason to, and then a lot of young black people like me, they got their hopes up when they saw Bernie Sanders, and then there's a lot of Latino voters as well that got their hopes up with Bernie. You see how Joe Biden is struggling with the polls with Latinos in Florida. You see the same dynamic being played out. So instead of getting mad at me, you guys should be trying to press Joe Biden to be better. Because like even if I vote for Joe Biden, even if I change my tune, that does not change the fact
it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, like it doesn't change that simple dynamic that I am pointing out to people. That the Democratic Party abandoned the working class, and there's a reckoning that is coming for that. Like it takes a while for what the one thing. It takes a while for that to happen, but there's always going to be a reckoning for these political decisions. Obama being a disappointment led to the fact that they lost 1,200 seats when he was president, and it led to Trump. We honestly, I still don't think we've seen the reckoning from the Democratic Party rigging 2 elections. Like I think in 2016, what they did in 2016, a lot of people forgave that because they knew Bernie had another chance. But now I think 2020, man, I see so many people that's going through the same radicalization process that I'm going through right now. It's like, man, I don't think we really gonna know what the ramification of what the Democratic Party did this election. Maybe into like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We're not gonna know immediately. So
it sounds goofy when people aren't radicalized by this, or they immediately jump onto, like, I saw people almost immediately when Bernie dropped out were like, AOC 2024. And I'm like, how? How can you just be so ready immediately to be like, yeah, let's try it and lose again?
Well, the thing is with that is like AOC shouldn't run for president in 2024. She should primary Chuck Schumer. Like you know what I mean? Like that, having her run in a absolute nightmare mess of people as, you know, like just a couple term congresswoman would be absolutely useless. Do not do that. I hope she primaries Chuck Schumer in 2024. Do I think she's going to? No. But do I wish she would? Yeah, absolutely. I would support it. Because, like, you take wins where you can. You shouldn't put all of your eggs into the electoralism basket. That's what a lot of people do. That's what people say when they're like, oh, vote. It's like, that doesn't fix anything. Exactly. And so, do I support progressives? Absolutely. Why wouldn't I? Like, I know, like, a lot of people are getting, like, super, super turned off all the way. But, like, I'll take wins where I can get them.
Exactly.
Like, with Cori Bush. Love her. I cannot wait to see what she does in Congress with Rashida Tlaib. Like, the thought. Exactly. Like, you know, you want to see these wins. You know, we have corporatists losing seats. But at the same time, if you're not doing things outside of electoral politics, then you're not doing anything. Because elections are only every 2 years. So it's,
And the incremental change that's achieved through these elections just isn't
it's not enough.
What we need to address the massive problems that we're having right now. I mean, I still haven't even heard any of these people talking about vote for Biden. What are you going to do if you're worried this fascist? You always say Trump's a fascist. Then you should be prepared for if Biden wins for him to not leave. If you actually think he's a fascist, you need to be prepared for that. And I want to know what your strategies are, like leadership. What is your plan?
Hashtag.
Ask him to resign. Finished. Ask him to resign. He'll just leave.
Jennifer Rubin is the biggest guy. But no, it's you're right. Like, do I think Trump is a fascist? I think he wants to be sometimes, but I think he's just like, he likes the attention. I don't think he's nearly as dangerous as like Mike Pence is. I said that yesterday. Like, I harped on that. Like, Mike Pence is way more dangerous than Trump could ever be. But, you know, if Biden loses in November, which he might, like, I literally don't know, but I don't know what's going to happen there, but yeah, I mean, like, if Biden does win, that is a good question. Like, is Trump going to be like, oh, the mail-in ballots? He will. He's going to talk about the same thing he said with Hillary, where he was like, oh, they had 3 million, illegal immigrants, whatever the fuck his tweet was. It was like, oh, they had them vote in California. That's the only reason why she won the popular vote. It's like, oh my God, dude, shut up. Like, please, you're in your 70s.
Yeah, so I have a unique take on the whole Biden equals a fascist thing. And I've been preaching this, and I want people to realize this, because you realize that the whole Trump is a fascist thing, whether it's true or not, I lean more towards it being true. It's just a Democratic Party talking point. And the reason why I say that, because they enable Trump every step of the way. If you have a fascist in the White House, you don't vote to increase his executive power. You don't vote to increase his military budget. Now, once again, I'm not going to get mad at them for calling him a fascist, because a lot of that is true. Now, let's dive into why that is true, though. And now this is a theme that I always want to touch on. And I want people to realize that there is a permanent state that dictate a lot of what the executive branch does. For example, Trump ran as an anti-imperialist. He ran on being anti-war. And a lot of people think he was bullshitting. I don't think Trump is bullshitting, because Trump actually has, if you look at his stance when you're talking about the Iraq war and foreign policy as a whole, he has a history showing that he actually has anti-imperialist views. But Donald Trump drone strike more people in the first year than Barack Obama did in his 8 years as president. So what happened? You get in office and you realize that as president, you're not exactly the boss. You're not exactly the boss.
Not at all. Not even close.
You got military industrial complex. You got military generals that tell you what to do. And this is how I know that's a fact. When George Bush took office, he set records over bombing. He beat Bill Clinton. And then Barack Obama took office, and he ran as an anti-imperialist as well. He did the unspeakable. He broke George Bush's record in terms of
10
bombing.
times the drone strikes.
And then Trump comes in and does the unspeakable once again. He outbombs Barack Obama. So what is happening here? To me, I think that's a clear indication of that this is the influence of the permanent state. So if you want to say that Donald Trump is a fascist, take the next logical leap that you need, right? The next logical leap, if Trump is a fascist, and if you understand that Trump is working on behalf of the permanent state, that means what? That means we must live in a fascist state. So instead of saying that we must vote against Trump because he's a fascist, I say we must destroy the two-party duopoly, because if you're a fascist enabler, what Nancy Pelosi is and Joe Biden is, they're fascists too. And if Joe Biden gets into the office, he's gonna follow the same permanent state directive that Trump is following. And you see, for example, there is a reason why Joe Biden was very, very silent when Donald Trump started using the Department of Homeland Security as his personal militia, because he plans on doing it too. So when I say that Trump is a fascist and Biden a fascist, I'm looking at the definition of fascist. I actually looked at the definition. I was like, all right, I don't want any partisan actors to try to influence how I think about this. And fascism is defined as authoritarianism, nationalism, and it got to have elements of forcible oppression of your opposition. So we have a trial.
We literally live in a fascist state. That's what we have.
Exactly. We got a trial going on right now that have bipartisan support against Julian Assange. Who Julian Assange? He's the opposition of the government. Once again, I'll go back to the definition of fascism. The definition of fascism is forcible oppression of the opposition. So if you support if you support them going after Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, you are literally, by definition, a fascist. So I remember I changed my handle for this for one day. I remember I said Joe Biden is a fascist. Ask me why. I had it up there for one day, and I plan on keeping it longer. But I had so many people message me, and I kept explaining this, and now every time I explain to someone, they be like, "Oh, damn, you're right." But I took it off my handle because now I'm tired of typing this shit out. I'm gonna make a video so you guys see. But that's how I feel about that, and that's why I'm not tolerant of we gotta have an anti-fascist vote. And I talked to my friend Kayla on Twitter about this yesterday. when they were going after her. And I came to the conclusion, we both came to the conclusion that I think a lot of liberals, they think fascism is only fascism when it happens to white people. Like, because when black people, we've been living under a fascist state for how long? God knows how long. I will argue that the drug war. Go ahead, Savi. It's Savi or Savi. I won't even read it.
A comrade of mine said, and I really like her phrasing in this, that it's not necessarily harm reduction, but it's shifting harm. Like it's harm, it's just shifting it. And I thought that was like a really great way to explain it. Like you're not really reducing harm. That harm is just going to be somewhere where you can look away and not see it anymore.
Well, yeah, Biden's already saber rattling in more than, I've seen both Venezuela and Syria. He's going to start more wars.
It is actually scary. Yeah. And it can be difficult because, we are all obviously extremely political people in all different ways. So, we see it all day, and we see, we're tuned in all day, and it can be really difficult to not get that, super doomer feeling of, what matters anymore, nothing matters anymore. And, especially when, all day I spend it seeing people, because something that does really hurt, and I have been working on, is when I see people call Biden a healing candidate, right? I'm sure we've all seen that. Or it's same thing with Obama. They're like, oh, I miss Obama, blah, blah, whatever. So I served 3 years under Obama and 3 years under Trump when I was in the military. So I saw literally both sides of how the military was ran under each. And it didn't change. It was both absolutely awful. And I deployed under Obama 2015, 2016. And so with the things that we saw and the things that I know we've done as a country, but even just personally seeing that, it makes me sick to my stomach when I see people praising Obama or the tan suit thing or any of that stuff. It's if for what we did to Yemen, if liberals and I would bring it up and liberals will literally say it's a conspiracy theory, and I'm no, I literally was there. I was literally there. We had a blockade set up, starving Yemen, while Saudi Arabia was coming from the north, pushing them out of their fucking countries. And you guys think this is and we were literally a blockade between there and Somalia. You have to be evil to sign this. I remember us getting our executive order to do this on deployment, right? I remember seeing it and me being a fucking dumbass. I was oh, that's crazy. Obama signed this piece of paper. What? I look back, I would have beat my own ass, honestly. If I met myself a couple years ago.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that radicalized me against the Democratic Party, and that's why I'm so ruthless against liberals, because I can lead in with my own personal story. The last time I ever voted for the lesser of two evils was in 2012. And once again, I'm very vocal about that story, how I wanted Obama to be Mitt Romney, even though I knew that Obama was a very problematic figure at that point. So I voted for Obama in 2012, and I witnessed the rest of his administration. And then throughout the course of his administration, every time I read a story about a wedding being drone striked or something like that, I felt complicit. It felt gross. And I hated it. And that one big part of the reason why I was in denial on exactly how evil he was. And I turned against the liberal class because I would think that speaking about Yemen, speaking about weddings being bombed and all this kind of things, I would think that will be enough to radicalize them. But it's not. When I explained to them how much the crime bill destroyed the black community, I would expect them to be a little bit more, oh fuck, that's fucked up. We can't support someone, but they don't care. And I realized that a lot of liberals and a lot of people in the Democratic Party, they don't care about anyone else if they're not American or if they're not someone they know. So when they hear about the black community being destroyed by the crime bill, when they hear about black wealth being destroyed by Obama, when they hear about the fact that Obama was complicit in lying about Flint, Michigan, and they still supportive of him, they still like him, what other takeaway am I supposed to have other than you don't care about black lives? If you still supportive of that, after I understand if you're ignorant, you don't know their record. I understand that. I get that. But if someone pointed out to you and your response to that is, shut up and vote for us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What other takeaway can I take away than you don't give a fuck about Black lives other than advancing your political power?
There was a number I saw the other day about, because something that I see a lot too is like, and I hate that I see so many, and I see it all day, like so many like Black men and women that are leftists, like actual leftists or progressives that are like critiquing Biden anyway, especially like Bree. Like, oh my God, these people come out of the woodworks. Like she breathes and they're like, actually, bitch. And it's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I see the same thing. Like I've had liberals tell me that like, or even like some leftists, like they'll bring up stuff about, oh, if you don't vote for Biden, then like something about war. And it's like, one, just don't, we're not going to do this. But I actually had like a really weird statistic for you that I like to bring out to libs whenever they talk about 2016, because you know how they like to bring it up about like Russia is why, whatever. So basically there was a large study done about like deaths that we had from overseas of like troops and troops' families. And so this is like the craziest thing. So our statistical model suggests that if 3 states key to Trump's 2016 victory, which is Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, had suffered even a modestly lower casualty rate in the U.S. military personnel conflicts like the Gulf War of 2001 to 16, all 3 would have flipped from red to blue to support Hillary Clinton. Wow. She would have won. And literally because of neoliberals engaging in consistent war and supporting Iraq, like Joe Biden wanting to push us to go to Iraq and then expanding the wars under Obama, that very well could have been why they, like, part of the reason why they lost, because veterans do matter, they do vote, and they do majority vote blue. But even though I know people like to pretend like we're all alt-right, but literally, like, it's reaping what you sow. Everyone, like, they killed too many people overseas, so they didn't get a chance to vote for them. That's why I don't give a fuck what liberals have to say anymore.
And they're going the other way too. Like it's not, and the reason why I'm so loud, because you would think that they would learn their lesson, but they haven't. Like, they literally going more right wing. They going more pro war. They got Colin Powell speaking at their national convention. They embracing war criminals. They have people like Larry Summers and Rahm Emanuel who push.
I mean, they had they went after Kissinger's endorsement in 2016 for Hillary Clinton.
Jesus, I forgot about that actually.
I don't know if you guys talked about this while my computer shut down, but they were just upset with Trump for saying true things about the military.
Oh, they were like, actually, the military-industrial complex is good. Actually,
it's not real.
We actually like war, Trump. Well, and God, I could go on for ages for that, but we don't.
Severe.
It's brainworms.
Trump could find the cure for cancer, and they would find some way to say we're pro-cancer now. It's terrible. It is fucking horrible.
That's the issue with like Trump derangement syndrome, essentially.
Yeah, it makes them look illegitimate. It brings them to a point where, like, okay, you're not having any can't speak. Criticism against him. Why would anybody take him seriously?
Yeah, they don't even realize that it hurts their case too. Like, Trump derangement syndrome is so toxic for so many ways, because when you constantly complaining and attacking Trump over stupid shit, and you calling him racist and doing all this insults over stupid shit that he says, and then he does something legitimately awful, and all of a sudden you look like the kid who cried wolf. For example, like Trump, when he used the DHS and he sicked his own militia on protesters. That's something that when he did, I was like, wow, holy fuck, that's awful. Like, that's something that actually hurt me to the soul when I saw him going after protesters. And I was like, holy shit, you're a fucking fascist for doing that. But you see, when I say it means something. So you have liberals that are coming out like, yo, Trump is a fascist because he's doing this. And then you might have casual observers like, man, you guys been calling him fascist for 4 years. What's the what the difference between like he actually doing some real horrific shit, and then the liberal out their outrage, it doesn't land because there's the constant ridiculous Trump derangement syndrome. But with that said, speaking of crackdowns by the police, one reason I brought you guys on, I know we can shoot on the conversation.
I know we were just like, and another thing.
No, I love it. That's exactly what my show's about. Like, we supposed to be chill and laid back. But one thing that I found super inspirational is that the fact that you guys just don't tweet about this shit. And that's what I try to be about as well. Like that's why I signed up to a lot of different organizations. Like I actually just got done talking to a guy I might be on the board to help push ranked choice voting. That's why I went and traveled multiple states to canvass for Bernie because I didn't want to be that guy who was just talking shit on Twitter. A lot of people they still accuse me of doing that, even though it's not true. Like
Same.
a lot of my haters,
I still get that.
like they still say, even though I literally got the receipt, bro. I got the receipts to show like I actually put in work. But you guys actually was out there, bro. Like you guys were out there in the field during the Kenosha protest, I believe. And I remember reading your tweets, Erica. And I remember one of the tweets you said, you was like, yo, I'm gonna head down there right now. I was like, what? I was like,
it was
I was like, oh, she's tripping now. She's tripping. Then the next tweet, you was like, yeah, I'm pulling up. I was like, what? Like you're a gangster? Like, you're a gangster, bro. So
well,
how did that start out? Like what made you do that?
Oh God. Yeah. So I live in Indiana. So I live in a town, Lafayette, Indiana. It's Purdue's out here. That's why I live here. And I was legitimately just like lounging in bed. And then I like looked, and it was right when that first video of like the guy from his house that recorded the cop shooting Jacob Blake. And like, I was like, oh my God. Cause I mean, it's one of those videos, you know what I mean? It's like, there's always going to be like some videos that are definitely more shocking than others, but that was like one of those, it reminded me of the same feeling I had with like the George Floyd video. You know what I mean? It was like, it like took your breath away, and it was shocking, you know? And so of course, like, and I had already had someone that I went to school with die a couple months earlier from police brutality in Indianapolis. I don't know if you remember that. He was actually a National Guard member. And I had already been out to protest everything, but things had kind of slowed down, especially out here. But and I'd actually just went up to Chicago as well, but I saw that video and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And that was Sunday night, I believe. And then I was like, I saw videos of like protesters getting like gassed and getting like the rubber bullets and everything else. And it was like that same night. And I was like, I remember I like went on my Google Maps and I was like, Kenosha. And I was like, oh, that's doable. I was like, oh, it's doable. Like, it was only like about a 3-hour drive into Midwesterners. That's like nothing. So I was like, oh, okay. Cool. And so that's when I had put out, I was like, hey, does anyone know anyone like up there? I was like, I think I might go. And then probably like at 1 a.m. is when that information that I saw came out, where it was like his children were in the car. And when I saw that his little boys were in the back seat, I legitimately packed a bag. And I was like, fuck this. I'm going. Like, I got kids. I talk about having a kid a lot. I post pictures of me making them say ACAB and shit because it's funny.
I wore this shirt strategically for this conversation.
Yeah. And, I just like, whenever I saw that, and then I don't know, it's like, of course I care about Jacob Blake, but like just seeing that like the kids were in the back seat, it like pushed me over the edge of like, I need to do something. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna pull up. I don't care. And I luckily have like a little bit of a platform, so I'm able to get connected with people. So I was able to meet some people and kind of get like an idea of like where to go, who to meet, whatever. And then, I was able to make it up there after that. And it was just like, I don't know. It was like that weird feeling you get. You're like, you got to go. Like, you don't have a choice. You literally just need to go. You know what I mean? Like, how long can you really sit back and just go to like peaceful protests and stuff, or like go to things that are like because I like to go to like the barbecues, like the community outreach stuff, like I like to take my son to any of the like barbecue cookout things, whatever. But I saw that, and I saw people were starting to get hurt, and it was when I saw people starting to get hurt and the fact that they were blocking off EMS from entering in the area, I was like, this is going to get bad. I need to go. So that was how I ended up going.
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for that, because one thing that I always stress, and this is something that we in the community love to see, like we are seeing white allies out there, like people that we see how dangerous it is out there. in Kenosha with all these crazy white supremacists coming up there, Trump weaponizing his militia,
Oh yeah.
and despite
Yeah,
that,
big time.
we still have white allies that willing to throw themselves out there in this situation. So this is why, I remember this is also something that you was. I think I saw both of you guys referring to this on your Twitter, how people go after white people at these protests, and that's a now I attack because I remember that was a big talking point in Portland, but it was like, yo, Portland's extremely white. their protests is white. I'm like, that's a great thing. That's a good thing. And
I kind of get it.
Ridiculously white too.
Yes, like Kenosha, like Jacob Blake was just there picking up his kids for his birthday party. Like it's a very, very, very small, white, wealthy town. Like it's beautiful. Yeah, no, it's legitimately right on Lake Michigan. Like right there.
The beach houses are like right on the lake. Like there's money over there.
Yes.
There were some Biden signs, some Trump signs.
We love to see that.
It was.
We love to see people.
There was a Trump house, and then I guess the people next to the two both hated Trump, so they both put like liberal stuff in their yard and Biden signs in their yard.
It was really funny, actually, to drive by.
Yeah, I mean, what I meant, we love to see people of different socioeconomical classes and different races. So when I see them attack our movement for having white allies, I can't help but think that's divide and conquer, and that's how they win.
It is,
and it pisses me off. Like I remember, I went on a long tangent, and I saw Erica went on a very similar tangent as well. I'm glad both of our tweets got a lot of likes on that because it's something that needed to be said. Because it's something, and when I saw that liberals was repeating this line of attack, that's when I realized they wasn't on our side. Because if they was on our side, they wouldn't be repeating that shit. I see. I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I see that the liberals and the Democratic Party are doing everything they can to harm this protest, to ignore this protest, to help it die down, because Joe Biden is the favorite to win the White House. I don't know who's going to win, but he's the favorite. So I think they want this whole thing to be over by the time they get in office.
They do.
The alarms have been raised for him, saying that, these protests are going to ruin your chances. Now Trump's calling them the Biden riots. So they don't care. They've never given a shit.
Right.
They'll put, BLM in blocks behind Warren's video, but that's the extent that they're going to support these protests. That's it.
And that's what is frustrating as well, because I would get don't get me wrong, like I get death threats a lot from conservatives, because being like the white trash socialists, they call me a race traitor a lot, which is hilarious. I'm like, die mad, I don't care. Especially when I talk about like NASCAR and shit, they're like, don't you dare talk about my NASCAR. And it's like, motherfucker, shut up. Like, no. And so, but something I wasn't prepared for was how often I was going to have liberals attacking me for going out there and people saying like atrocious things. Like the first taste I had at that wasn't even during Kenosha. I don't know if you remember, it was the day after July 4th, that man that they tried to lynch here in Indiana.
Yeah, I remember
that. They literally, so I got a message from some of the organizers down there, and they were like, hey, we need to do something. So we threw together a protest in a couple hours, and that was like 2 hours south of me. So I went down there, and it was like super decentralized. It was really effective. I mean, they ended up getting arrested and charged, whatever, but there was some this like group of veterans off at the corner that were like right-wing Cold War veterans, so they didn't do a goddamn thing in their entire life. They participation trophies, that's it. And they were off at the side, and they were causing problems, and because they were there as a counter protest. Imagine being a counter protest to an attempted lynching, but whatever. And Vox, who's the gentleman that they tried to lynch the day before, was there, and he is friends with me. So he came up because there was a microphone, and he was like, hey, would you mind speaking as a veteran to these veterans? Like, to be like, no, like, this is not what we're about. This is not, no. I was like, yeah, dude, of course. So I had a chance to talk about like why, like, as a veteran, it makes sense to support Black Lives Matter and blah, blah, blah. Even though I don't believe in vet worship, I still am going to use that card if it's going to make conservatives listen.
I'm all for it.
And liberals were super pissed. like in the comment section to that, like they were like, oh, of course I had conservatives that just said something like just god awful racist things, and just horrible things, but liberals were like, just saying the most ridiculous things, like, and they always do. Like, they'll say things about, like, oh, you're colonizing Black Lives Matter or something like that, and it's like,
oh my god,
what?
Talk about
like it's just
holy shit.
And so I just kind of ignore it though, because it's like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I literally was asked to do it, but okay. It's just funny. But with Kenosha, I had leftists doing the same fucking thing. I don't want anyone to think for a second that leftists are in the clear here.
They do. Black liberals do it too. The NAACP guy. I'm gonna shoot video on Al Sharpton saying this shit as well. But they try to take our movement and they trying to make it all about. They're like, yo, this movement about all these white people. Defund the police is all about white people. Like, no, these black activists that believe this shit too. And the NAACP, I think he was in Portland. He was trying to say that Black Lives Matter being taken over by a bunch of white people. Like the same shit that we were just talking about. How we got bad faith actors on, and like you said, leftists do it too. I hate that shit. Like it drives me literally insane.
That's what I always call like it. The people that are like that though, I know they've never been to a protest and they've never like been off of Twitter. And like I had someone. So we had the medic fund for the Kenosha or the Milwaukee street medics, right? Which are who I was able to link up with. Incredible human beings. I love them so much.
That's the person who was going to join us tonight, Mary Matt.
Oh,
Mary is like incredible. And she did not have a Twitter platform at all. So when I met her, I was like, hey, I have somewhat of a following. If you give me a GoFundMe, I can help you like raise money. We can do that because a lot of people feel like helpless right now, but they want to help in Kenosha.
Yeah.
So like literally overnight, we got raised $50,000.
Wow.
Because of Twitter. Yes. Yeah. And so, and people, I was getting messages from leftists or having people like retweet it and try and get like a got 'em thing. And they were like, not a white leftist trying to make money off of Jacob Blake's death. And I was like, one, these are just people I'm working with. If you click the fucking link, you can see that my name isn't anywhere on this. Two, the woman that is running it is literally indigenous. Are you fucking kidding me? And not even that. What is this money being used for? Legitimately, most of my patients that I've had and that I've helped in fucking Kenosha are black men. Like, are you kidding me? And even then, it's like, if you are going to, it reminds me so much of like the more female drone pilots joke we always say about like liberals. It's like, this is literally life or death. You know what I mean? Like I had people making these arguments the day that people died in Kenosha. Like it is insane to me. It's like, look, of course I fucking support like black and brown people within this. Like, of course. And like, but the thing is, it is not safe for like, it's literally safer for me as a white woman to be a medic than it is for you to be a medic. You know what I mean? Like that's legitimately why I'm out there is because I have the lowest chance of being brutalized by the police. Why would I not use that? Why would I want to put black and brown lives on the line that are already being killed? Like that doesn't make like that's I'll rant about that forever. It's so annoying.
Quarantine has gotten a little bit to some people's heads, I think.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about it in a life and death scenario. This is not like an ideological debate. It's not a Twitter argument. This is money going to real lives who are being killed and real people. Like, it's not a joke. It's not a game. Yeah. This is not fun LARPing, and that's such an overused term.
Oh, my God.
It's not. Yeah. Real people are losing real lives or getting hurt in general. You're getting maimed, all this shit. It's not something you can just debate about and argue on Twitter all day for. It's serious.
And that's what I mean. And that's why I try not to let it get to me anymore. Because at the end of the day, like, I don't even know how many people's lives were saved because of the street medics that were out there. And because of, you know, like the incredible organizers. Like we had the Black Lives Matter Chicago and Milwaukee out there working together. And you had people that were in the mindset of like, you know, defund the police and abolish the police. You know what I mean? But they were coming together for this one cause, and it was for Jacob Blake. And, you know, it was that Monday night after Jacob Blake had been shot, was huge because people had time to make it up there. That's when I was able to make it up there. Right. And it was like legitimately one of the most surreal nights of my life. Like, yeah, that's great. Everything was on fire. Like, everything was on fire, and there was explosions everywhere, and there was
that, right?
Yeah, so like whenever I had a chance,
I think I remember that. I think I remember you started tweeting that kind of stuff.
I was well, because when I was up there, the media left. Like when the cops started being the aggressors and the cops started like starting stuff, media dipped.
Yeah.
Besides right wing.
Media does leave when police brutality starts. They will just coincidentally be like, "Oop, I don't see anything."
Like, there's a reason why you don't see videos of the cops beating people on MSNBC and you see it instead on like streams. It's because we all know like corporate media is just another arm of our fascist state. So they're not going to expose the crimes that the state is committing. They're not going to. And if they do, it's going to be independent papers. But like, even then, it's like they're just going to leave.
If I remember correctly, my friend from Rochester recently was telling me about how there was somebody who said to a journalist, "Record this because the police are about to, commit violence against us unprovoked," and they just walk away. They turned around, they walked away, they put their camera down, and they left.
Yeah,
they're not there to document the truth. They're there to document their own narrative.
Yeah, I can do a whole spiel on this as well because there was just a study that just came out not too long ago that showed, I think it was like 91 or 93% of the Black Lives Matter protest was peaceful. And
97%.
97? Wow. Yep. So, yeah, even higher than I thought it was. And what do you see only on the media? They only talk about the rioters. They only talk about
riots.
And why do they do that? They do that because they amplifying right-wing talking points against our protest. And it's not by accident. It's not by accident. This is why I want to stress to people. The media has, let's say, I can do a whole video on this. Well, actually, I might. On how the media, they prop up right-wing protests and they demonize left-wing protests. Mm-hmm. For example, when the whole reopen protest happened, I remember when the reopen protest.
I was about to say Michigan.
Yeah. I remember when the reopen protest was going, and I was like, all right, let me look into this shit. I looked into it. There was like there'd be like 20 people there. There'd be like 50. Like these protests was not a lot of people because if you look at the opinion polls, even I remember I think it was Morning Consult. It was months ago. They did a poll on how many people think we should shut down, and even among conservative voters, a majority of Republican voters thought we should shut down. So I knew that knowledge coming in before the protest, the reopen protest started. So I was like, wait, hold up. So the polls show that majority of Republicans support lockdown. So what the fuck is up with these protests? So that when I noticed, I was like, wait, these protests actually don't have a lot of people there. Like you don't think I'm lying? Go back and look at them. There'll be like 25.
It's literally just manufacturing consent that there is somehow an outrage about wanting to open up when most people didn't. That's exactly what it is.
And there was like AstroTurf Facebook groups started by like the same right wing company. I forget what the details on that were, but that was an illegitimate.
Yeah, exactly. And these right wing protests, they are the people that are serious, the people that are not AstroTurf, the people who are not paid by the Koch brothers. They are useful idiots, and in the media they prop up these protests that help their corporate class, helps their donors, because when you reopen the economy, guess who that helps? That helps the top 1%. That helps the corporations. So when the reopen protests were started, I was literally yelling from rooftops. I literally had leftists that were saying, "Are you being a little bit too conspiracy?" I'm like, no, this is real shit that's going on. Like they are literally amplifying the reopen protests because the news organization, their donors, they have all of the invested interest in getting people to open up. So that's example I'm talking about. So when we had that study that shows 97% of the Black Lives Matter protests was peaceful, but then you only see the rioting and protesting and looting. And this is my response to that, because I was at the Kansas City protest. I was at a few of them. And then whenever something started getting crazy, we were policing ourselves. We literally was getting mad at people who were starting stuff. So I knew what the protest was like on the ground. Like we had people like, yo, don't do that, man. We got to look good. So I knew that the protest was inherently peaceful, but the media was portraying and amplifying the right wing concerns that it was a lot of rioting and looting. And this go back to this actually segment perfect, which I want to talk about now, where you guys caught that police informant. Because we literally I remember there was some guy. It wasn't anywhere near you guys, and we didn't confirm, but I remember we was at a protest, and some guy was acting up, and then we had someone that was like, "Hey, bro, are you a fucking cop?" And we got him to chill out because it wasn't me. Someone was like, "Bro, you a fucking cop, you can't be doing shit." And there was a guy who was going around. I will never forget this guy. He was a tall white dude. He had red hair. He was going around. He was like, "Hey, yo, you gotta make sure you watch out for police because they infiltrating our movement. They infiltrating our protest." Because that's what they do. They have right-wing agitators. And there was videos of when a lot of rioting was happening. And there was reports on there was a lot of right-wing and MAGA infiltrators that was starting this rioting and the protest. So, do the media ever bring that up? The fact that this happened.
And the fact that they're infiltrating medics is so fucking ridiculous to me. Like, they're putting so much of their effort, especially into Kenosha, it seemed, the FBI, into figuring out all the medics' plans and what the medics were doing. And the only goal that medics have is to save lives, period. So if you're trying to, disassemble the medic team, you're trying to kill people, period.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
the weird thing about that, we had, infiltration from different angles that whole time we were there. Like, we had... the night after Kyle Rittenhouse murdered 2 people and injured another, we were on high alert because it's like, oh my God, whatever. And honestly, I will say, going back out there, the day after Kyle did that was one of the most horrific things I've ever done. I'm not a big baby. I am a big baby. I don't even know what I'm going to say, but I'm a huge baby. And but it was okay, we're going to go, and I don't know what's going to happen because, Kyle was able to go home. I don't know if this is going to, embolden people or whatever. And myself and then some others, we all have radios. And the cops do listen to our radio frequencies, of course. They just do. And when we were there, I had posted about it before that, not even just, with the fucking pedophile, but the night before that, we were walking, and the way we do it, and the way that I tell everyone, if you're being a medic and they're on the move, never be inside the crowd because you're useless if you get hurt. So make sure you're always in the back, off to the side, able to find cover if needed, and just watch everyone. You are not a part of the protest in the way that the protesters are. You are there to keep them able to protest. So that's what I was trying to tell people, that difference. But we were in the back and we noticed this dude who looked comically like a white supremacist. He legitimately didn't even try to not look like a fucking Nazi. And he was off to the side and we were looking at him. I don't know if you've ever seen American History X. He looked like he could have been in the fucking movie. He had red ladder lace Chucks, which is already that's it's an outdated code. But if you see someone going out of their way to do this, there's something wrong. He was a skinhead. He had this shitty goatee that was just awful. It was super patchy. And then when we started looking closer, he had the tattoos that were on his forearm. It had an old style Confederate the people tattoo, and I was like,
he was like,
that's not normal.
But the thing that made it so we were what the fuck is, he had a backpack. It obviously wasn't this, but it was a regular backpack, and he was holding it like this, right? He was not wearing it, holding it fucking white knuckle, just
I am greatly enjoying that. I'm greatly enjoying the fact that he was extremely bad at being.
He was so bad.
I am greatly enjoying how awful he was.
I'm honestly thankful. I am thankful that he is a dumbass. Because, he was, white knuckling this backpack, and he was, looking around, all shifty-eyed, and I was like, this is comical. This is, funny at this point, because what the fuck? And, the other medics that were with me, they were just like, what the fuck? And then they had this moment.
Speaking of.
Sorry, everything's on fire. But they had this moment, this really incredible moment with the protest. They stopped in a like an intersection, and there was this incredible speaker who basically did the right thing. And he was like, fuck this shit. Let's go to the white people's neighborhood, which is that neighborhood we were talking about that's super wealthy. And they're all like, hell yeah, let's go. And the white supremacist dude was literally just like, and I was like, what the fuck? And then his other friends like came up and like they were like in the corner, and then they all got in a car. And so we radio it in. We're taking pictures of the car. We're like, I literally had my radio, and I was like, and shortly after that, we heard a drone come in, and then we heard a helicopter come in, because we also saw an unmarked car, because feds are different than local PD. They do not want mass shootings. And we like went up to the feds and we're like, hey, just so you know, like there's like this fucking dude, you know, like whatever. And they were like, okay, thanks. And we were trying to warn people that were in their yards when we walked by. And we're like, stay calm, but like, here's what's going on. And then right after that, we look down the road and we see the cops that are just like pulling this car over. And then we're just like, oh shit. And then right after that, we hear, get on the road. And we're like, ooh, what the fuck's happening? And we didn't know what happened from that because we skedaddled. Like, I'm not trying to be somewhere where I'm hearing get on the ground. And then that's when we found out the next day that they were the ones that had like the fucking saw and like all of the guns and everything like harbored at their hotel. They drove up from Missouri actually to do it. And so that was fucking awful. But we stopped them.
Yeah, you guys stopped them. Like following your story was crazy because like it was like one thing after another. It was like first you went to Kenosha. I was like, damn, you're a gangster. And then you called the police informant, like, damn, you're a gangster. And then you guys called those white supremacists trying to kill people, like, damn, I'm tired. You guys don't fucking miss. You guys don't miss.
It was funny with like the like whenever we were up there, and because we had found out the night before that this person was probably a narc.
He came up to us. We honestly
we met up in Kenosha.
So the first time that I went up there, I went up with FRSO, and Erica came a little bit late, so she was at like the back of the protest, and we had stood off to the side. I had marched with them. We came back to the municipal building, and so me and Erica were trying to hook up because police were ready to disperse, whatever. So we get there, and David comes up to us, and he says, "I see your bag. Are you a medic? Are you guys medics?" And Erica's like, we just said yes, and he says, "But do you have licensing? Because I talked to the police, and they said we won't target anybody." Or we. He would have told on himself if he said we, but he said the police aren't going to be targeting anybody who has actual medical licensing. Erica said, yes, she has hers. I said, I don't have it, but I'm a pre-med student and I'm here with Erica. Is that okay? I have a student ID. And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Then he starts asking us a bunch of questions about what kind of stuff we have in our bag, what we need, hyping up this medical tent that he has. He's like, oh, there's a bunch of supplies. He swore that I could get a respirator. He said they had tourniquets. He said they had a bunch of shit there. So he's taking us to this medic tent, and Erica's getting really irritated with him. I thought he was just mansplaining. Like, he was treating us like we're fucking stupid and just kept asking a bunch of questions like we didn't know what we were doing. And Erica just got very sharp with him. And eventually he shut up, but he did.
I'm just an asshole. I
wish I could see that.
And so we get to Civic Park where he says this tent is, and then he just disappears. He's gone. We never hear from him again. Wow. And we didn't think much of it at the time, but we really should have, because that was a huge red flag. If someone comes up to you and they're not like affiliated with an organization.
I had talked to him the night prior. Like, he was just weird. Like, I never listened to him because I was just like, whatever. Because when you got so much going on, you're just like, whatever. Maybe he's just like, annoying. I have no other way to put that. But
that's what I thought.
Basically, the way he was caught was, one, he gave me weird vibes. He gave me very weird vibes when he was asking all those questions to us, because he'd seen me before. You know what I mean? Like, I had been all over the place up there, so it's like, but it wasn't just me. There was a lot of people out there from other organizations that were like, hey, this dude's fucking weird, right? And then basically everyone, well, we have like group chats, right? So we have like Signal group chats, Telegram chats and stuff. And everyone was like, okay, we all kind of agree that he's weird, because it is kind of uncomfortable to call it out like that. But after what happened with Kyle, who posed as a medic, be an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, this is like your life and your friend's life. So we basically, everyone started putting 2 and 2 together that whenever they were with him, whenever they were with David, which was the guy that was the informant, they would get arrested. Like, do you remember seeing that that truck that had thousands of dollars of supplies in Kenosha?
The U-Haul, yeah.
David.
Yeah.
That was him.
Wow.
He was the one that tipped off their location. We have a church that is incredible out there that was able to, you know, like house all of these like supplies that have been sent from all across the country. FBI showed up to take pictures, and it was weird.
Yeah.
They were supposed to come because we were there.
We were getting death threats all night.
All night. These Texas numbers were calling and talking
saying
about how
that they hope the church melts down and like all this crazy shit. I mean, I was answering these calls one after another. And so when they came, they showed up and they took pictures of like all of the medical supplies. And then there's like, it's a leftist church, which I know sounds funny, but they're incredible. I love them. But because they have like a couple like Karl Marx quotes on the wall. So they were taking pictures of our medical supplies and the leftist stuff. No, that church, I'm not like religious at all, but I would attend that church.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not mad
I love
I'm
them.
not religious,
It's
but
amazing.
I'm not mad at them at all.
No, they're incredible. And so we were like, what the fuck is happening? Like, it's
the stream is cutting in and out, just as a heads up.
Is it?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Let's see. All right, I fixed my.
Someone commented it.
Okay. But yeah, like we tried to. God, we can't say on stream what we were doing at the church.
Yeah,
but we were doing something very useful, and we were getting these death threats. We were getting all this crazy shit, and then the next day, basically everyone in this group chat was like, "Okay, this doesn't make sense, right?" But then the biggest fucking thing was we found his Facebook.
Oh, I remember you talking about that. I remember.
Listen,
so Mary, all these feds and these right-wing
they're stupid. They're fucking stupid.
They have rocks for brains.
They're old. They think that we're just like these dumb leftists that just infight all day. But like, I'm from a fucking trailer park. Like, I don't understand what y'all think's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
But when we found his Facebook, it was like literally all fucking just cop shit. And I was like, and then he had a live stream from that night, from when Kyle shot everyone, and he is posing as a medic and feels the audacity to gatekeep who's there as a medic, and literally live streamed them dying and didn't help them.
Wow, yeah, that's some.
Journalist.
And so a journalist had to put a tourniquet on Gage, which is the guy that got shot in the arm.
A journalist, while a medic who claimed to be a medic to work at a hospital. This guy said he worked at a fucking hospital,
which he didn't.
Goodbye. He did not. You can't work at a hospital when you're a convicted pedophile. So,
and it's like it constantly, like the story just kept getting constantly funny. the fact that he's a pedophile. It's like, bro, when I first saw your tweet, it was already pretty big. But you was like, I called a police informant, and he's a pedophile. I'm like, come on, no way.
Yeah, I thought that was bullshit.
Dude, we like, okay, so Mary, who's like one of the main medics that we've been up there with, she's an incredible organizer, incredible person in general, but we were up there, and there was a couple of the medics that were obviously extremely upset because we found out that there was like this live stream of like people dying and then the Gage bleeding out, of course, that are upset. And we see David was there, right? and he's just sitting on the ground. That's how that video starts, is he's sitting on the ground, and Mary, who's not confrontational at all, goes up to him because she was like so angry. You know what I mean? Like herself and another guy were just so angry. And I could see that like and I was angry too, but I was like, you say your piece. I'm here to support you. And if he gets funny, I'll catch a charge. But when they were going, Mary was laying it out very well. And like, that's when the crowd started to kind of get around us. And you could tell he was getting super nervous. But then when I realized that he wasn't leaving, I was like, yeah, no, he's an informant.
Mm-hmm.
He feels bold. Like he knows that nothing's going to happen to him. And so that's when I was like, oh, hell no. And so that was when I think it actually was the, oh shit, what is it? It's like the Socialist Party in Illinois that was up there that Savvy had came up with. They gave me a blowhorn.
Yeah, no, when Mary Mack was harassing this guy, I like went around to the entire crowd and I was like, all right, she needs a megaphone because this dude kept trying to talk over her. And that's what made me fucking mad. I was like, oh no, this guy's not going to sit here and talk over her. She needs to have her part. So I went and I found a megaphone from PSL. Shout out to PSL.
There we go.
Microphone guy in Kenosha.
Microphone guy.
He gave me the mic and I gave it to her.
Speaking of,
oh my god.
One thing I found funny, we can kind of wrap on this lighter topic here. We about an hour and a half in almost. I remember Savvy, you had that pretty viral photo that went on there, and I remember one of the comments that I found very funny was when Erica was like, "I want your hand in marriage." I thought that was extremely funny.
I'm
and
done.
And then
I think I also said we would be a power couple.
Yeah,
that's another thing I said.
And you guys are, because I remember seeing that. 'Cause I remember when it happened at the time, and then I saw you guys met up. I was like, oh shit, this is happening. And you guys both was there when you caught the police informant. You guys were both there, holding it down for the movement. So I always think about that. 'Cause I thought that was funny because I saw Erica propose, and that's how you guys meet up. And when you guys caught the informant, it was like, I feel like the marriage is almost official now. I'm like that's
well, it was funny because like, yeah, you're right. Like, whenever like the viral photo happened, I was 100% simping on Maine. I was like, listen.
I'm pretty sure
you and I, and then like these fucking dusty ass men are in there, and they're just like, they're like, I have this to offer, and I was just like, get out,
okay, yikes,
skedaddle.
and then that's why I thought it was funny that you guys.
I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
Like, well, I didn't know that, we were located so closely together, and so, I'm always down to like meet up and protest with people that like I meet online, because it's honestly a really nice way of like networking. And when we were able to do that, obviously I was excited like to meet someone, but also it's like really reassuring to know that it's like, hey, this can be real life. Twitter's not real life, but you can make it real life.
Yeah.
This community
like
is
you
real.
can, and once you build those in-person connections, that's when a lot of the like need to fight and argue and do all these things kind of like disappears. Like there's so much more bonding to be had in person in real life. And that's why I think it's such an issue too that we're going through all this during a pandemic. I think about it all the time. Like every time I'm at a protest, or especially like vigil events, I just think how badly I want to turn to the person next to me and hug them, and like how much I love everybody there, and I want to show and hug them, and you can't.
I think you made that point actually too, Savvy, because you was like, man, people online is different, but when you meet them in person, like you build real relationships. Because when I was canvassing for Bernie, man, I met a lot of people from Rose Twitter. I met a lot of people when I was in South Carolina, and almost every single person I met, we immediately was homies, we immediately were friends. Yeah. Because what better way to bond than trying to destroy the oligarchy together? That's the best way.
That's it. Like, and it's funny because like you see a lot of times, and we had even talked about it. Like you see a lot of times on Twitter, sometimes leftist infighting. Usually it's just people that just want to get clicks for some reason,
Exactly.
but you will see every now and again like the anarchists and the tankies going at it. And like I consider myself closer to anarchists, and then Savvy's obviously a dirty tanky. So like it was just funny to see that it's like we literally like don't care. Shut up. Like we're just trying to do this shit. And so
it's good to see, man. That's why I love to see
it was great. Like, and everyone there, like, no one cares. The funniest shit that I ever heard was like from one of the Milwaukee Black Lives Matter like organizers, like one of the main organizers. There was this group of people that came down from like the countryside of Wisconsin, and like they were very hick. These are my people. And like they came down and they don't give a shit, and they do not like cops. And like they were down there, and they were the ones that were like throwing themselves at the cops. And like that's what I'm saying. Like some of the main organizers, they were like, "These are like the fucking white people that I like. We can keep them. I like them." And like it was, and that's what was funny, because like we see those arguments about like, oh, we don't want like don't co-op, or like white people shouldn't be around this or whatever. And it's like, these people are crazy. Like when shit gets real, I want these doomsday preppers on my side. That's who I'm trying to hang out with.
The arsenals in their basement to be on our side, please.
That's why I do, like, I harp on outreach so much about like building up the left, is because like, hey, and something that I do say a lot, and I did a stream last night about how to talk to conservatives, and like how to reach out even to the alt-right. And it's mainly for white people, because I would never want someone that was in a marginalized group to reach out or talk to anyone in like ultra right-wing. It's not safe. And that's why like that white allyship you were talking about, that's when it comes in handy. Yeah. And because to me, and I do catch shit for even conversing with people that are alt-right all the time. I get people that are like, like Nazi sympathizer. It's like, what? My whole thing is I would rather disarm someone with information and a conversation from the safety of my home than wait for someone to radicalize and show up and kill my friends.
Exactly.
Like if you think you're above talking to people like that, whatever, but they're going to have people talking to them on the right. You have to try your best, if you have the chance, to disarm that way of thought, or else, like you can die. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the importance of like, just stop fighting. And like,
we don't have the time anymore. We don't have
the time and resources to be fighting and bitching about stuff.
Whenever I follow like lefty Twitter drama, I'm like, what? Every time I read, I'm like, how do you guys have time for this shit? Like, I'm literally constantly
exhausted. Like I can't even do debates anymore with liberals, with right wingers. None of it. Online, in person, I can't anymore. I'm fucking tired. I'm so tired of this shit. Let alone people who I know at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, are going to be on my side.
Amen.
Going to die on my side with me. Why would I spend my time fighting with them when there are so many other problems that we have going on right now?
Exactly.
It is valid to be a little like weary of people that had those views, especially if you are in like a marginalized community, like duh. But I'm talking about just getting people off that edge of like actually going out and acting on something stupid. You know what I mean? Like if you can even just get them to a moderate position, that could literally save someone's life in the long run. I'm not asking anyone to be friends with someone who's racist, transphobic, sexist. Not asking for friendship. I don't want to be friends with them.
And your strategy is how the left wins. And whenever you see the liberal class tell us otherwise, that's them literally giving us back.
They're worried.
They don't want us to win. Like I still remember when it was before Bernie Sanders went on Fox News, and I think one of his best performances was when he was on
the town hall. I literally think
if we had that Bernie the entire campaign, like I really wish he treated MSNBC and CNN the way he treated Fox News. If we had that guy, we would be in a much better position. But the only reason I bring that up because I see this all the time where the progressive movements get bad advice on purpose. Like people give us bad advice because they don't want us to win. Because they know you win in politics by winning people over, by forming coalitions. So they want us to do the exact opposite. They want us to have these purity tests. Meanwhile, they get Republicans to speak at their convention. You
Yes,
know what I mean?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
they give us advice they don't follow because they know it's stupid ass advice, and I don't tolerate it.
It is funny because like I'll have it's usually and it's always white people that talk about like white people doing I don't know
Yeah,
but
it is.
They'll say something about like because that was what prompted that thing that I tweeted the other day. Like I saw someone say like, oh, not white leftists telling other white leftists it's okay that they used to be racist, and I was like, and I was at first I was going to pick a fight, but then I was like, you know what, fuck it. And so that's why I made like I tried to have a more positive take on it of like, I'm proud if you are not racist anymore. If you got out of a conservative household, I am so fucking happy you're here. Like, this is what we need. And, you know, like, of course, like there were some people that were like, there was someone that was like, you say that because you're white. And I was like, do you know who I actually learned this from? Fred Hampton.
Amen.
Who literally preached, like, if you want to learn about class solidarity, go fucking listen to any of the Black Panthers talk ever.
Amen.
Like, they weren't these radical anti-white people that, you know, we were taught growing up. Like, they fed children and fought for class solidarity. That's why the state hated them. And if you want to educate yourself, like, look back at movements like that of like literal radical solidarity. Like the biggest thing I show people is when Fred Hampton was representing himself in court, and he was talking about like the white and black working class, like they do not want us to be together ever. They want like
W.B. Du Bois went to war with a lot of white scholars because unfortunately in the early 1900s there was a subsection of the socialist movement. They wanted to focus only on the white working class, and that's something that W.B. Du Bois made a big point about. You can't do that. Like these aren't new lessons. Like these are lessons that have been passed down by our ancestors that they've been clearly aware of. So when I see people fall for the same bullshit that people that 100 years ago knew was bullshit, I mean, the only thing we can do is just correct the record. So
exactly.
That's why exactly why I want to talk to you guys about this, because once again I saw what you guys were doing down there and having real white allies that wanted to put it on the line, because like you said, Erica, you guys didn't know how safe it was going to be after the first killing. Who knows what could have happened? Anything could have happened. If you ran.
I fully expected, and I think everybody there fully was prepared to die. Going there, we took a bunch of edibles the night before and watched Vanilla Ice movie because we were all sitting with the fact of we could die tomorrow.
You can't ask for a better ally than that. You can't ask for a better ally than that. So I definitely appreciate you guys for doing that.
That's hilarious that you mentioned the edibles. I was like, I'm not going to mention the edibles because I mean we couldn't sleep.
I mean, like, we
were literally a group.
A will know what I'm about. I'm a fucking stoner. I don't give a fuck.
Like we literally like couldn't sleep. We like couldn't relax. We couldn't just breathe. Everything just hurt, and like it still does. Like I try not to make it off. Like I do talk about mental health, but like it's I can't explain like how painful it is to see all this. And I already have like PTSD from deployment, and so when we were all like back at an apartment, it was super late. We had just got done doing some things to help the movement. Cannot talk. We were like, okay, what do we do? So yeah, we did take edibles, and I knocked the fuck out, and we watched like the shittiest movie ever. And then it's like you get up in the morning and you're just sick to your stomach, just getting ready to go into Kenosha. And especially like I'm a big baby, and so when I'm like, I was FaceTiming my son like before we pulled into Kenosha, and I was just like, oh fuck. Like it literally felt like a deployment.
No, that's real shit.
Like
though. That's real
like
shit.
You're going in and it's like, okay, because both of the men that died in Kenosha were dads. They both had kids. Like it literally can just happen to anyone. And so that's why I harp on safety a lot. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I want to be useless at a protest. I want to be like, oh, that was a waste of time for me to be there. Like as a medic, like I could have been out there fucking telling cops I was going to sleep with their wives. Like, but it's horrifying. And everyone that's going to protest, especially if you're out in those hot spots like Portland, like you really, really, really need to like just study, like look up shit about like medical stuff, look up stuff about positioning or recognizing warning signs and all this other stuff. And then, and especially as a minority, like if you're a minority going out to these places, oh my God. Like,
yeah, but
I mean, you have a target on your back.
You have a lot to teach me. That's for sure. I appreciate it because I remember you gave me a better recipe on how to cure again tear gas because I was using milk like I was a noob or whatever. You like, hold on, let me give you a better recipe. So this kind of stuff I need to learn because, like I said, I'm a political nerd, but I still need to learn stuff like this, like how to catch an informant. This kind of stuff I think everyone should know. And right now, like I think we'd call it here right now, but I would love to have you guys back on. I would love to talk about those kind of strategies and how to catch an informant, what you should do. Certain So once again, these kind of conversations can be endless, but once again, I appreciate you guys having you guys on, and I appreciate what you guys have done. That's why I remember when I first heard about you guys out there catching the informant, I knew I was like, all right, I gotta have these motherfuckers on my show. That's some great shit. That's some great shit that happened there. But anyway, is there anything that you guys want to plug here before we log off here? Go ahead.
Oh, I have a plug. One for Left Flank Veterans. It's just a bunch of veterans of the Gulf War. We all get together and we just talk shit about everything. And also, stay tuned because there's a nonprofit that just started for helping to give unhoused individuals period products for free. And I'm going to post it on my Twitter tonight. She just messaged me, so I wanted to make sure I could do that. Or plug it. It's the No Shame is what it's called. And so if you see that, please feel free to donate and retweet.
Anything you want to plug? Anything?
I don't got anything.
All right, cool. Anyway, thank you guys for checking out my live stream. Like I'm still like this only my second stream now. I got my friend Alex here. She been teaching me the ropes, and the more I do this, the better I'm gonna get. And I'm gonna have everything connected to Twitch eventually. So I never had plans on being some sort of YouTuber, some sort of streamer. Like never in a million years. I always tell people this all the time. I only have 500 followers last summer. This came out of nowhere, but I'm not gonna waste this microphone that I've been given, this megaphone that I've been given. So I'm gonna continue to advocate for these issues I believe in and pass the mic to the people. I'm a citizen journalist, and that's what I do. I don't want. I feel like our conversation is shaped by the corporate oligarchy and their friends. We need to end that shit by having our own progressive media, giving the mic to everyday ordinary people, and that's my goal and that's my dream ever since I've been granted this platform.